Welcome back. Breaking news out of the Middle East. Overnight, the United States now retaliating after 3 service members were injured in Iraq on Christmas Day in a Hezbollah attack at Erbil Air Base. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin writing, quote, "These precision strikes are a response to a series of attacks against U.S. personnel in Iraq and Syria by Iranian-sponsored militias, including an attack by Iran-affiliated Kataib Hezbollah. There have been at least 103 attacks on U.S. forces since October 17th. Meanwhile, attacks on ships triggered by the ongoing Israel-Hamas war right now spreading beyond the Red Sea. The Pentagon is accusing Iran of striking a chemical tanker on Saturday in the Indian Ocean, yet another threat to the shipping industry as attacks are ramping up. Iran calling the accusations baseless while threatening to close the Mediterranean Sea if the United States and Israel continue, quote, crimes in Gaza. Joining me now is retired U.S. Army Brigadier General Anthony Tata. General, good morning to you. Great to have you on the program with us this morning. I just want to get your reaction to all of this breaking news over the holiday.
Good morning, Jackie. Merry Christmas. What I would say is that it's really nothing new. Iran has been sponsoring terrorism in this region for years. This flurry of attacks by Houthi rebels in the Indian Ocean on the tanker, Shia militia groups in Iraq and Syria, over 100 of them, as you've mentioned. They're absolutely nothing new. It is the modus operandi of the Supreme Council of Iran, and they continue to do this while America, quite frankly, has very tepid responses. There is no policy of deterrence. We had the maximum pressure policy in the Trump administration on Iran, and it tightened these attacks down. We demanded of them that they quit exporting terror throughout the region, and here this administration is really kind of taking it. The retaliation really is a show of force that Secretary Austin mentioned. It's a de minimis attack on some equipment, and it's really not the response that sets us up as a major regional power player that can affect deterrence in the region.
Yeah, and since all of this happened on October 7th, it was clear that Iran was, behind it, funding Hamas, funding terror organizations in the region. We have known this for a long time. Yet what the Biden administration does with its foreign policy is an appeasement strategy. And so it doesn't punch back when it knows where it needs to punch back. Instead of backing Israel with full force, actually, I feel like President Biden has backed away from Benjamin Netanyahu and his attacks on Hamas and what's happening in Gaza right now, really sending a signal that, in the beginning he said, as Americans, we stand with Israel, but really sending a signal that we don't to a certain degree.
You're exactly right, Jackie. He's speaking out of both sides of his mouth. He's trying to have it both ways. Everything that this president does is driven by politics and power domestically, right? So how does he appease the radical, progressive left wing of the American political base? And he does that by coddling to Iran and the extreme Islamic wing there. So that part of Islam, the radical part of Islam, has really taken hold in universities and the political base here in the United States of the left, and that's what Biden's focused on. He really does not have a policy for the Middle East, and he wants to say that he supports Israel, but he sends money to Iran. He does not enforce sanctions against Iran, where they're selling oil to China, billions of dollars worth of oil, and hundreds of millions of those dollars go to Hamas, Hezbollah, Shia militia groups, Houthi rebels that they have been funding for forever and a day.
Yeah. Meantime, I want to switch gears because the Biden administration reportedly attempted to hide the fact that the Chinese spy balloon was flying across the United States earlier this year from both Congress and also the American public. NBC News finding a January 27th phone call between General Mark Milley and NORAD Chief General Glenn Van Herk, revealing new evidence that the administration initially hoped to keep the balloon a secret. During that call, Milley told Van Herk that the Pentagon planned to send F-22 jets towards the object to gather intelligence. NORAD warning that the U.S. failed to develop systems that could detect and track that craft. General, your reaction to this? Spy balloon flies across our country, scooping up data as it pleases. They knew about it. They did nothing about it, and then they wanted to cover it up.
Yeah, so Jackie, just as I was saying before, domestic political concerns drive decision-making within this administration. It's very craven, lack of concern for the United States citizens, very much so, and more of a concern for how does this make us look bad? How can we cover it up so that we don't look bad domestically? How do we manage this information instead of giving the straight scoop to the American citizens and, let us sort it out. Let us figure out how we want to vote in the next election, for example, based upon the competence or lack thereof of policymakers within this administration. Really, really bad decision making up and down the chain of command there.
Yeah, Doug Collins, I know you want to get in on this China conversation.
Yeah, General, good morning. One of the things I want to go ahead, not only just to China and covering it up, and which we've seen from this administration, but I want to hit something that you alluded to earlier, and that is our troops, both me and Air Force, from you and the Army as well. It was a concerning 2 reports that came out. Number one, over 103 attacks, no credible nor no forceful retaliation. It seems like it's come from us, except those strategic, as proportional as Defense Secretary Austin said. And then, we need to, I think, bullies don't understand bullying. The second point that I would want your input in is the recent discussions that other countries were not willing to serve under U.S. command to try and help the Red Sea and this Indian Ocean issue. Speak to that on an international front from this administration not being able to work with our allies.
Yeah, so Doug, great to be with you. On the first point, in that region, power understands power, and that's why we had the maximum deterrence, maximum pressure campaign on Iran. That they only understand power. This theocracy that's there is hell-bent on disrupting the Middle East, in particular, by way of funding all of these militia groups. With respect to the task force in the region and others not wanting to work with the United States, it's a symbol of the lack of respect that other nations have for us, and this trying to have it both ways, not picking a clear side, and the Israel versus Hamas fight that's going on right now, and being somewhat tacitly supportive of the Hamas butchers that came in and slaughtered hundreds of Israelis. So it's a lack of respect globally that this administration has because of they're trying to have it both ways. There's no clear stance. There's no clear policy, and they just don't want to side with somebody that is, being this way.
And that's what happens when you talk out of both sides of your mouth. General Anthony Tata, wonderful to have you on the program. Thank you so much for getting up early.